5 signs that a narcissist in your life was sent by the devil. There are certain people in life who feel as though they just don't belong in your world. People who leave you feeling drained, confused, and as though you're in an emotional battle that never seems to end. If you've ever been in a relationship with someone who seems to delight in hurting you, or someone who manipulates you to the point of feeling like you're losing your mind, you might be dealing with a narcissist. But when their behavior goes beyond cruelty, leaving you questioning whether they are truly human, it starts to feel as if their motives are far more sinister. Could it be possible that a narcissist in your life is sent by forces beyond our understanding, maybe even by the devil himself? The signs are subtle, but undeniable when you take a deeper look. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 signs that a narcissist in your life might be nothing short of a destructive force, wreaking havoc with a purpose that feels darker than mere selfishness. If you've ever wondered why certain relationships feel like a spiritual battle, this is for you. Stick around, because we'll be examining these behaviors in depth and giving you the tools to identify and protect yourself from this invisible threat. Before we dive into the disturbing signs, make sure you get that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with anyone who might need to hear this message. Narcissists aren't always easy to spot, and they certainly don't come with a warning label. If you've ever felt like someone in your life might be more of a predator than a partner, friend, or colleague, then this video will give you the clarity you need to understand their true nature. Let's uncover the hidden manipulations together, one by one. So, what exactly makes a narcissist seem like they're straight out of a nightmare? Let's break it down with 5 unmistakable signs that someone in your life might be more destructive than you realize. Sign 1. They leave you feeling exhausted, as if your energy is being drained. One of the most obvious signs that you're dealing with a narcissist who is behaving in an almost supernatural way is how drained you feel after interacting with them. Narcissists have a unique ability to suck the emotional and mental energy from those around them. You might feel physically exhausted, mentally foggy, or spiritually depleted, as if you're constantly walking on eggshells or fighting a losing battle. This isn't just about the usual stresses of relationships or work. It's a deep, visceral fatigue that feels as though it's coming from a place that goes beyond ordinary human interactions. What makes this particularly dangerous is that it doesn't always happen quickly. At first, you might feel like you're just dealing with a difficult person. But over time, this draining effect only intensifies. They know exactly how to push your buttons to keep you hooked, making you feel both manipulated and emotionally overwhelmed. The spiritual toll is significant. You might feel that they've cast a kind of spell over you, making it nearly impossible to break free. This sensation of being emotionally drained to the point of spiritual depletion can give you the distinct impression that something more sinister is at play. Sign 2. They make you doubt your own reality, like you're living in a constant state of confusion. The second sign that you might be dealing with a narcissist who could have darker motives is how often they make you question your own reality. Narcissists are skilled at gaslighting, a psychological manipulation where they distort the truth so that you begin to doubt your own perceptions, memories, and even your sanity. This is a hallmark trait of narcissistic abuse, and is one of the most dangerous tactics they use to keep you under their control. It starts off small. Maybe they tell you something happened that you don't remember, or perhaps they twist your words, making you feel as if you've misunderstood or overreacted. Over time, these incidents accumulate, and you begin to lose track of what's real and what isn't. You start second-guessing everything about yourself, and the more you try to defend your version of events, the more they attack your credibility. The constant state of confusion you're left in makes it feel as if you're trapped in a warped reality. In extreme cases, narcissists can distort everything from your self-worth to your life's purpose, leaving you feeling lost and disconnected from yourself. When this kind of emotional manipulation escalates, it can truly feel as if the devil himself is working through this person to lead you astray. Sign 3. They take pleasure in your pain, and they keep coming back for more. A truly devilish narcissist isn't just content with hurting you once. They seem to take pleasure in your emotional suffering, and they will do whatever it takes to keep you in a perpetual state of pain. One of the most unsettling things about narcissistic abuse is that it's cyclical. The narcissist will manipulate you into feeling intense emotional highs through periods of love bombing, excessive praise, affection, and validation, only to turn around and tear you down with cruelty and belittlement. But what makes it worse is that they seem to derive pleasure from your pain. They might mock your tears, laugh when you express hurt, or even escalate their mistreatment just to see how far they can push you. Every emotional reaction you have becomes a source of their amusement or power. This is a key trait of narcissists, but when it crosses a certain threshold, it can start to feel as though their motives are darker and more malicious. If you've ever been in a relationship where the person seems to deliberately twist the knife when you're down, or if they seem to feed off your suffering, it might leave you wondering if they were sent by a force beyond this world. They appear to enjoy tormenting you, like some kind of emotional predator stalking their prey. Sign 4. They isolate you from friends and family, leaving you alone and vulnerable. A narcissist doesn't just want control over you, they want complete control over your life. One of their most dangerous tactics is isolating you from friends, family, and any support system that could offer a sense of reality or objectivity. They want you to rely solely on them for emotional validation, love, and understanding. In extreme cases, the narcissist may actively sabotage your relationships with others, planting seeds of doubt or even outright making up lies about the people you care about. You might find yourself cutting off old friends, distancing yourself from family, and increasingly depending on the narcissist to meet your emotional needs. The isolation creates a perfect environment for them to exercise complete control, making it easier to manipulate and abuse you without interference. This is an especially dangerous sign because the more isolated you become, the more difficult it is to escape. You might feel trapped, as if your entire world revolves around the narcissist. The emotional toll of losing your connections with the outside world can make you feel as though you're in a prison of your own making. If this pattern seems eerily malicious, it may give you the sense that the narcissist's presence in your life isn't just random. They may have been sent to tear you apart from the inside out. Sign 5. They never change, no matter how much you sacrifice for them. Finally, one of the clearest signs that a narcissist in your life is sent by a malicious force is their complete inability to change. No matter how much you try, no matter how much you sacrifice, or how much you bend to their will, they will never be satisfied. They might promise change, apologize, or claim they've seen the error of their ways, but in the end, their behavior never improves. The cycle of abuse repeats itself endlessly. What makes this so maddening is that narcissists often know how to play the part of the regretful partner or friend. They know exactly what to say to make you think they're capable of change. But when the moment of truth arrives, they revert to the same destructive behaviors. This constant emotional manipulation weighs you down, leaving you questioning why you even bothered to try in the first place. At some point, you may come to the horrifying realization that nothing you do will ever be enough to make the narcissist change. This realization can feel spiritually crushing. It's as if you've been trapped in an eternal cycle of self-sacrifice, only to be met with the cold reality that the narcissist's abuse will never end. If any of these signs resonate with you, take a moment to reflect on the impact this person has had on your life. Narcissistic abuse is not just emotional. It can leave scars that last long after the relationship ends. The narcissist in your life may have caused you to question your worth, your sanity, and your very sense of self. It's crucial to recognize the signs early and take action to protect yourself. Thank you for joining us in exploring this important topic. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Protecting yourself from narcissistic abuse starts with knowledge, and together we can help raise awareness and heal from the emotional destruction that these toxic individuals leave in their wake. 14 deep fears people with narcissistic parents struggle with. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to grow up in a home where love is conditional and your every move is scrutinized? Imagine a childhood where you're constantly walking on eggshells, unsure whether a wrong move will send your parent into a fit of rage or disappointment. For many, this is the reality of growing up with narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parenting is emotionally taxing and leaves a profound impact that extends into adulthood. But what does it do to a person? What kind of deep, often unspoken fears linger with those who grew up under such toxic conditions? In this video, we're going to dive into the 14 deep fears that people with narcissistic parents often struggle with. These fears are not just superficial or fleeting. They are ingrained in the fabric of their lives and have shaped how they view themselves, the world, and their relationships. Whether you're someone who grew up with a narcissistic parent or someone who's simply curious about the long-term effects of this kind of emotional abuse, stay tuned. By the end, you'll gain a deeper understanding of what these individuals face every day. So let's explore these fears in detail. Fears that aren't always obvious, but deeply affect the way people behave, think, and interact with the world. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you find it insightful. Your support helps spread awareness about narcissistic abuse and its lasting effects. Now, let's jump in and uncover the 14 deep fears that haunt people with narcissistic parents. 1. Fear of not being good enough. One of the most prevalent and enduring fears carried by individuals raised by narcissistic parents is the fear of never being good enough. Narcissistic parents are often quick to impose unrealistically high standards on their children, demanding perfection in everything they do. No matter how much effort the child puts in, it is never quite enough to meet their parents' expectations. This constant pressure to excel can leave the child feeling inadequate, regardless of their actual accomplishments. Over time, the child learns that their worth is conditional and directly tied to their ability to meet these impossible standards. As these children grow up, this ingrained sense of inadequacy follows them into adulthood, where it manifests in various areas of life, such as relationships, work, and even friendships. They may constantly feel like they are on the edge of failure, or that they are not measuring up to the expectations of others. This fear of never being good enough can be paralyzing, leading them to second-guess their decisions, question their abilities, and even avoid taking risks for fear of disappointing others. The deep-rooted belief that they are destined to fall short, no matter how hard they try, becomes a barrier that hinders their potential. As adults, people with narcissistic parents often find themselves trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity, fearing that they will eventually be exposed as a fraud or unworthy of love and success. This fear can manifest in their professional lives, where they may constantly seek validation and approval from others, unable to trust their own judgment. In relationships, they may feel like they are not deserving of affection or connection, always questioning whether they are truly valued or simply tolerated. The pressure to prove themselves worthy of love and acceptance can be overwhelming, and many may resort to overcompensating or perfectionism in an attempt to avoid being exposed as inadequate. This deep-seated fear, instilled by narcissistic parents, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that continues to shape their lives in ways they may not even fully understand. 2. Fear of rejection. Narcissistic parents thrive on having control over their children, using it as a means of maintaining power and dominance within the family dynamic. One of the most damaging ways they exert this control is by constantly making their children feel unworthy of love, affection, or approval unless they meet the parents' specific expectations and perform to their liking. This conditional love creates an environment where the child feels as though their value is only validated when they are fulfilling the parents' desires or demands. In such an environment, the child quickly learns that their worth is not inherent, but rather contingent upon their ability to satisfy the narcissistic parents' ever-changing needs. This sets the stage for a deep and pervasive fear of rejection that the child carries with them well into adulthood. As these children grow up and begin to navigate the adult world, this ingrained fear of rejection manifests in many aspects of their lives. They become hypersensitive to even the slightest hint of disapproval from others, whether it comes from friends, partners, or coworkers. This heightened sensitivity to criticism or rejection leads to a constant state of anxiety, where they are perpetually worried that a minor mistake or misstep will result in their abandonment or being cast aside. The fear of being rejected or judged harshly, as they were by their narcissistic parent, looms over them in almost every interaction. In relationships, they may excessively seek reassurance from others, constantly wondering if they are loved or valued, while in professional settings, they may overperform or avoid taking risks out of fear that one failure will lead to rejection or failure. This constant fear reinforces feelings of unworthiness, as they subconsciously begin to believe that they are not good enough to be truly accepted or loved unless they meet the impossible standards set by those around them. Ultimately, this cycle of fear and self-doubt can lead to emotional exhaustion, isolation, and a deep sense of inadequacy, as they continue to seek validation that they may never fully receive. 3. Fear of emotional intimacy. Growing up with narcissistic parents often means emotional neglect or manipulation. Children of narcissists learn not to trust others with their feelings because their emotional needs were never met or were constantly used against them. This can lead to a deep fear of emotional intimacy in adulthood. They may struggle to open up or share vulnerable aspects of themselves, constantly pushing people away out of fear that being emotionally open will lead to betrayal or rejection. 4. Fear of being controlled. The narcissistic parent uses control as a primary tactic for maintaining dominance over their child. Narcissistic parents often manipulate their children through guilt, shame, and emotional blackmail, teaching them that they are powerless and must obey. As adults, these children carry a deep fear of being controlled by others. This fear manifests in their relationships and work environments, where they may resist authority or struggle with obedience, fearing that any sign of submission will lead to exploitation. 5. Fear of conflict. In a household dominated by a narcissistic parent, conflict often leads to emotional warfare. A narcissist will escalate minor issues into major confrontations, using guilt and aggression to manipulate their child into submission. As a result, children of narcissists often grow up fearing conflict. They may go to great lengths to avoid confrontation, even if it means suppressing their own needs, opinions, or desires. They fear that expressing anger or frustration will lead to dire consequences, such as emotional outbursts or total withdrawal of love. 6. Fear of being invalidated. A narcissistic parent often invalidates their child's feelings, making them feel as though their emotions don't matter. This leads to a profound fear of being invalidated by others in adulthood. People with narcissistic parents are hyper-aware of how others respond to their emotions and opinions. They worry constantly that if they express themselves, others will dismiss their feelings or tell them they're overreacting, which triggers a deep sense of insecurity and self-doubt. 7. Fear of abandonment. Because narcissistic parents often withhold love and affection as a form of control, their children develop a persistent fear of abandonment. As children, they never knew if or when they would be good enough to receive their parents' approval. This fear of abandonment lingers into adulthood, causing them to be overly anxious in relationships. They may cling to partners or friends out of fear that they'll be left alone, or they may sabotage relationships to protect themselves from the anticipated hurt. 8. Fear of being exploited. Growing up with a narcissistic parent often means being used for the narcissist's gain. Narcissists have no qualms about taking advantage of their child's time, energy, or even their love without offering anything in return. This exploitative behavior leaves deep scars, and as adults, these individuals often fear being exploited by others. They may struggle with trust, constantly on guard for signs that someone is trying to take advantage of them, even in situations where it's not warranted. 9. Fear of being criticized. Criticism from a narcissistic parent is often harsh, unfair, and unrelenting. Narcissistic parents are quick to tear their children down and make them feel inferior, often offering praise only when it suits their own agenda. As a result, people raised by narcissistic parents develop a deep fear of criticism. Even constructive feedback from others can trigger feelings of inadequacy, leading them to believe they are failures or that they will never be able to meet others' expectations. 10. Fear of being seen as weak. Narcissistic parents often view vulnerability as a weakness and will exploit their child's moments of weakness to further their own agendas. This creates a deep fear of being seen as weak, both emotionally and physically. Children of narcissists are taught that showing any kind of vulnerability makes them susceptible to manipulation or ridicule, so they go through life hiding their true emotions and struggles, fearing judgment from others. 11. Fear of not being loved. Since narcissistic parents often provide love only when it is earned or when it suits their needs, children grow up with the belief that love is conditional. As adults, this belief manifests as a deep fear that they will never truly be loved for who they are. They may struggle with accepting love from others, always questioning whether it's genuine or if they are simply being tolerated. This fear of unworthiness prevents them from fully opening up to others, even when they know they deserve love and affection. 12. Fear of being ignored. A narcissistic parent often disregards their child's needs and feelings, creating a sense of invisibility for the child. As a result, people raised by narcissistic parents develop a profound fear of being ignored or overlooked. In adulthood, they may become anxious in situations where they feel unnoticed or unheard, whether at work, in relationships, or in social settings. This fear stems from their childhood experience of being emotionally disregarded or minimized. 13. Fear of losing control. Children of narcissists are often trained to be obedient and compliant, and their actions are frequently dictated by the whims of the narcissistic parent. This creates a deep fear of losing control, particularly in situations where they feel helpless. As adults, they may develop a need for perfectionism and an obsessive desire to control their environment to avoid the feeling of vulnerability. Losing control, to them, equates to being at the mercy of someone else's manipulation or rejection. 14. Fear of being unsuccessful. Finally, many children of narcissistic parents fear being unsuccessful, not just professionally, but in every aspect of life. Narcissistic parents often place unrealistic expectations on their children, pushing them to achieve greatness, but offering little